718. Good area code, by the way. Where are you calling from?
What's good? This is Danny from Georgia, actually.
Oh, from Georgia. Huh.
Yeah.
How
I
does that
moved
explain the
here
area
a
code?
couple years ago.
Ah, okay.
I moved here a couple years ago. Yeah.
Okay. So you kept the old Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx number.
Since about 15 years now. So it's been a
Hell
while.
yeah. 718 represent. All right, what's up? What would you like to talk about?
Most people keep their numbers. I've still got mine from childhood.
Yeah, Sam. Hey, I just wanted to talk about I recently learned that a lot of my family voted for Trump this past election. I'm first generation American, and I learned that a lot of my immigrant family voted for him. So I'm still kind of trying to understand why, but it seems like definitely the socialism and fear mongering definitely drove them to vote for Trump. Despite all the
can I
bad
ask
things
you
that
what
he's
your
done.
can I ask you what your background is? Like, what is your nationality? Where's your family from?
They're Southern American. They're from South America.
South America. Would you mind telling us what specific country?
Sure, Ecuador.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. I
didn't see it coming at all.
There are certain countries.
I thought it was.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. You finish. Go ahead.
I really didn't expect that. I thought, obviously I'm a little more informed than I think the average person, but just a basic definition of socialism and trying to say that Joe Biden is that, it just makes no sense. I never even thought that would be a possibility. And yeah, you're right. Definitely where people come from, their lived experiences shape their politics and all that and their response to that. But I really don't think it's that. I think it's just these talking points about socialism with no rebuttal whatsoever. Democrats, I understand Democrats are not socialists, but they can't even explain why they're not. And I think that, since they're definitely not going to offer anything material to people, it's just going to be a battle between rhetoric. And if one side's calling the other side socialist and the other side says, no, I'm not, which is basically just what Joe Biden did, that's not going to win. So if they don't want to do anything in terms of giving people, helping people, live with dignity, at the very least, can they explain to people why calling them socialist is just stupid, makes no sense whatsoever. Tell people, be honest with people, say, yeah, socialism means workers owning the means of production, and I have no interest in doing that. And of course, I'm simplifying this a lot, but I'm just trying to, I don't think ignoring socialism and just trying to talk about something else is the best way to win people who are just generally ill-informed and susceptible to this kind of fear-mongering.
Right, I absolutely agree. The whole Democratic Party plan to distance themselves from socialism has been, obviously, in the aspect they're taking it on as has been a failure because people still believe they're socialists, but the thing is, people are interpreting socialism as what Fox News and further right networks like Newsmax and OANN are explaining it as. You're going to lose that battle. You've lost that battle. That battle has been won by the right. It's over. So why not just correct the definition of socialism? Even if you're going to be truthful and then come out and say we are not that, even if that doesn't matter or whatever. What is the harm in correcting the definition of socialism?
Well, I had that debate. I had that debate with the Trump supporter that recently went viral again for some reason. I think it was because Soledad O'Brien retweeted it. But the Trump supporter was saying that Joe Biden is a socialist. And I said, well, why would you say he's a socialist? And she was like, well, because he betrays his country and turns his back on his race. And I was like, I don't think that's... And that he's that he's a billionaire and he's corrupt. I said, well, I don't really that was her definition of why he's a socialist, which doesn't make any sense.
Can I ask what the class position is of your family? Are they business owners? Are they workers? Are they highly paid? Are they low paid?
They're lower class.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are their... What is their... You said it surprised you that they voted for Trump. So what is their history of politics? Were they politically interested before this? Were they not? Did you know them to watch any specific news programs? Give us a little bit more details if you feel comfortable telling us more.
Yeah, sure. So they mainly speak Spanish, and so they'll watch, Telemundo or any other noticias. But they're not going to talk about socialism, and so that's not very. I think that's not going to save us from any of this. But that's usually where they get their news. And the reason I say I was surprised is just because we've been pretty apolitical overall, and
are they online?
For granted that being part of the working class, they would realize that Republicans are terrible, actually.
Right, but all of those networks are capitalist too. Like those aren't like left-leaning networks at all.
I don't think those networks had anything to do with it though. What are they online a lot? Big Facebook users?
I don't think so, but I think moderately, based on like kind of the generation they seem to be on Facebook. But so that could be a part of it too. It could also be, I've come from a really big family, so I could have a couple of cousins, right, who are big Trump supporters, and I'm not aware of. They're talking about this stuff and kind of pushing these narratives about socialism and how Biden is this evil person or whatever. So that could be it. And what I'm thinking about, what I'm trying to put upon myself is just being more open about politics. I don't really like calling myself a socialist. I prefer myself more of like an anti-capitalist. Everything I hear about capitalism, I don't agree with. So I think talking about that stuff would help. But coming from like a macro perspective, it kills me that Democrats are being allowed to be called socialists.
Can I say this though?
Pissed at that
it's
definition.
Not. I don't think it's about like the ideological argument being made. I think this is about a history of anti-communism. The CIA has been in Ecuador for like half a century, right? Like, I mean, I don't think the Democrats can simply like, frankly, as they're constituted now, like, I don't think they don't have the sway in these communities to overdo that programming. I think,
and not to mention American culture is also incredibly anti-communist.
Right, but people forget that like not only American culture is anti-communist, right? Like we should know that it's like we aren't the only bastion of it here.
Yeah, I think it's a little.
I understand that, Matt. But when you're calling Biden a communist, I feel like or a socialist, it's like a totally different argument now.
Not really. Like, I mean,
there's gonna be that propaganda, but the definition of it. I mean, to call Biden a socialist, I don't even see on look around you could do that.
I think you should talk to them and see what their online habits are, because there have been reports that while everyone was focusing on misinformation and all sorts of claims of election fraud and all this other these conspiracies online, while the focus was on that on Facebook, Twitter, etc., for us here in the U.S. who speak English, this stuff started running rampant in other languages, and Spanish obviously being such a prominent language in the world. I've read many reports where Spanish language misinformation was completely ignored and not dealt with. I know for a fact that for some reason it keeps hitting me with WhatsApp, but what's the big application that's big in China and other Asian countries? Not WhatsApp, the one that was hit with TikTok when they do you guys recall? I'm having a mental block.
I don't know.
No, it's not that one, but one of those apps that's really big in China that people here use to connect with their family over there. There was apparently tons of misinformation running rampant there, which explained why here in Queens there was pro-Trump rallies that were majority attended by Asian immigrants, Chinese immigrants. It was it's something that I think got completely thrown under, just ignored because of how everyone was so focused on the English speaking English language, misinformation here. But it wouldn't surprise me if that's where they got a lot of it from, to be honest.
Well,
because if they're apolitical and they're not really paying attention to news and everything, then it got into what they normally do somehow. They didn't search it; it came for them.
Well, also the GOP did a lot of Hispanic outreach that the Democrats did not in a lot of places. I mean, we just talked about this the other day in Florida, I believe. And you could say, and counterposed against the results that Bernie got with Hispanic voters in the primary, I mean, there's probably slightly different cohorts of Hispanic voters coming out for the different candidates, I would say. As discussed, Hispanic people are not a monolith in any way, shape, or form, either racially or class-wise. But you do have to imagine that there is something else going on besides racism when heavily working class and heavily Hispanic counties that went for Bernie in the primary went for Trump in the general. Like, how do you explain that? And I don't think it's necessarily about socialism. It's just that is the message that reached them, because that is the outreach that was being done. But I have to imagine if you had a candidate who not only did outreach, but also spoke to people's material needs, right? Because Hispanic voters think that healthcare is really important. They think that jobs are really important. According to polls, I think you would probably do better.
Right.
And stop apologizing for the policies that you're running on, you know? I think rather than saying, oh, I'm not a socialist, here's what socialism means, blah, 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 blah. You can do what the Bernie types and the AOC types do, which is explaining what you actually stand for and saying, if that's socialism, then I'm a socialist. And P.S., that's a good thing. Right. Demystify it of its 100%. Scary content, you know?
Oh, and the app I was thinking of, the Chinese app is WeChat. That's the big app that a lot of misinformation was flying around on.
I appreciate your time, guys. Thank you for everything that you guys do. You guys are a big part of my life, and I know a lot of other people, so please continue doing what you're doing and with that passion. But don't get along so well. That's not as fun to watch.
All right. There'll always be a minimum, like a base level guarantee that there will be a punks versus goths feud on this show.
That's awesome. Just always
Thanks,
bubbling under the surface.
Take care. Thanks for the call. Really great.